Oh, you meant the live button. I got you.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mad LiberTEA Party. My name is Paxton, and joining me, as always, is the very colorful and gorgeous sunglassed Mike. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Agora Brewing here. What would you prefer to go by?
You can just call me AB. That's good.
AB?
AB
All
is
right.
good.
Yep.
So, Mr. AB, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So it's I'll just do the plugs. Agora Brewing on Twitter. If you followed me there for a while, you know what I'm about. Been I don't know. Let's say an anarchist since 2017, and an agorist shortly thereafter, and been brewing since March of 2019.
Very nice.
Yep.
So, one of the first things we usually ask people is just, how did you get to this point? What's your coming to liberty moment? You said 2017 is when you decided
Yeah,
to become an anarchist?
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I've been secretly fantasizing that you're gonna tell me that you got into brewing because of the SCA.
The SCA.
Oh, it's not happening. Nobody.
Okay.
It's a nerdy group of
Oh,
LARPers.
oh no! I just realized what you were talking about.
Yeah, it's a
Completely unrelated. Yes,
historical.
I almost was in that. Yeah. Um,
All the
no,
brewers I
surprisingly
know,
not.
except for you now, are part
Right.
of or
Yeah,
came
yeah.
from that. That's why I was thinking that.
So I could get into that. My first so I'm a mead brewer for anyone who doesn't know, which is a honey
Hmm.
wine. It's usually about 12 to 14% alcohol. You can do basically whatever you want with it. But my first experience like that I ever saw that word that and knew that this was an alcoholic drink was Skyrim. So I had no idea what that was for like years until it was actually after I'd become an anarchist, and then I saw the Modern Rogue video of how to brew mead, and I was like, oh, that's a thing. So I watched that, and I'm like, oh, that's easier than brewing beer, and I'm an
Yeah.
anarchist, and the Sam Conking guy seems pretty cool. So why don't I just start like making stuff? But yeah, I would say like my turning point was it was an episode that Stefan Molyneux did with Dave Smith, and Dave was running through all his the usual good arguments that he makes. But
Yeah.
I think I've always kind of been where I'm at, just didn't really know what to call it. I read a what do you call it, a fiction book series in high school called The Sword of Truth, and that was, I mean, if you read that, it's a lot of proto what agorism, anarchism, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I
Um,
know that book.
yeah, yeah. So like book 6 of that series, like the main character actually does agorism and makes himself wealthy in the middle of a communist hellhole. So I mean, there you go.
I never
Yeah,
actually I didn't read them, but I knew people who read them, so like it was definitely familiar. Are they actually any
yeah.
good?
So
Would
it's
you plug the book?
general. Yeah, I would.
I'm
Sword of
sorry,
Truth,
I'm
Terry
such a
Goodkind.
nerd book.
It's
A
yeah, no,
book
you're
nerd.
good. The general, like everybody who loves that series is gonna say that the first 6 were fire, and then after that it becomes a cash grab. But I would say that the 7th book is also pretty good, and the 8th book is about where he starts getting really blunt with the politics. Like he starts off really subtle and like teaching you through the story, whereas like once you get to books 7 and 8, it gets more like, oh, I'm just going to tell you and then put it into the story, but I'm just going to tell you right off the bat. I'm not going to really sneak it in like I used to.
Used to, yeah.
But yeah, it's really good, at least for the first 6.
So, one of
I'm
our
sorry, I don't want to derail you.
No,
one of
you're
our
good.
Telling
You're
us
good.
how you got into this stuff, but
Mhm.
one of our commenters here actually brings up a good point. We've mentioned agorism on here before, and we've had
Yep.
Saul the agorist on the show. But we'd
he
love to
Okay.
explained it
know
really
what
well. But
you how you define agorism.
yeah,
Um. So
What makes
the
someone an
way,
agorist?
right.
what is
Well, the way I
agorism
look
to
at it
you? Because it's
is,
different.
yeah. Well, that's kind of the rough thing, is that it's kind of a philosophy of people doing whatever the hell they want despite regulation or despite legality. The way I kind of look at it is I'm going to prosper despite what they, want me to do. So if they say, like, for example, just goofy stuff like your shed has to be so many feet from the fence or whatever on your property, they can come and inspect whatever you're doing. Like, here's a story that I just remembered. There was a guy that wanted to build his own, like, shack that he was going to live in, and they didn't, so, like, it wasn't going to be to code, but what he did was he said, okay, I have these plans for a house, and they come and they inspect it. They're like, okay, looks good, go ahead and start building. And he says, hey, is there any rule that says that I can't build the garage first? And they go, no, go ahead, whatever, your plans are good, build it. So he builds the garage, and then he just stops there, and they never come back, right? So he just lives in this garage and didn't build the rest of the house. So it's like, I can do things that I want to do as long as I'm kind of getting away with it in that gray area, right? And you can get into the black market thing and say, like, okay, I'm gonna go sell weed, or I'm gonna sell illegal alcohol, or whatever you want to put there. But my personal philosophy is I'm gonna do everything short of putting myself in jail, right? So it's I'll go to what Konkin really, what his goal was, is that the libertarian movement at the time back in the 70s was, okay, we're going to make this party and we're going to try to run for president, and we're going to teach people about this liberty thing that we really like, and we're going to get elected and change the rules, right? Konkin said you can't change the system with something that is part of the system, right? So it's sort of a conflict of ends and means. So what he did is he was an illegal immigrant to the United States, did all of his dealings in cash, and he was a political activist against politics. So it was do things in cash, don't pay taxes, get people to stop voting and to stop participating in politics, period. And eventually, if we can create this counter economy, this black market, gray market, and this is where gray market comes in. It's not illegal, but I'm also doing it without supervision. So that's the key term, without supervision. And eventually, by depriving the state of tax dollars, we can starve the leeches and kill it, right? Personally, I'm more, I like Alongside Night, which was a book by J. Neil Schulman, which is sort of like the idea of, like, where I'm gonna write this fiction novel about what would happen if the Agorists win, kind of thing. I like the way he puts it, where he's like, okay, these guys are just interacting with each other and creating institutions that exist before the fall of the state, which I think is going to happen anyways. Like, you look at the dollar, you look at the economy, you look at the current crisis, all of the crises going on right now, it's going to fall anyway. So what you want to do is build networks with other people so that you have resiliency, so that when this thing does crash, you're not caught with your pants down. That's the idea to me. I don't think we're ever going to actually starve the state, but what I do think is that people should be taking, every step they need to be resilient to the bullcrap that the state does to us. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. A lot of people, like, you hear that whole, like, starve the state thing, but when you actually go talk to agorists that have been doing it for a while, I mean, like, yeah, it's nice to dick over the state's game and not play it and stuff like that, but, like, more often than not, it seems like if people believe that you could use agorism to bring down the state, they believe that it's just one of many pronged attacks. And I'm kind of one of those too. I think that, like,
okay, so you're like, you'll do it, but you're also gonna vote, and you're also gonna
No, fuck
No,
voting.
like
No, we're a little
okay,
extreme at this
so
point.
what do you view as multiple prongs? Because when I say agorism, I mean everything that I do is a prong, right? So it's
Yeah.
not agorism is this box. It's like when I grow my own food, that's a prong. When I brew alcohol and have that, in storage, that's a prong. If I'm storing gold, that's a prong. If I'm, you know what I mean? Like I don't look at
I
it
always
like agorism
considered,
counter economy is its own. It's not one thing.
how to
Pretty good,
word
Mike.
this. I don't want to freaking, hold
No,
on.
you're good. I'm trying to figure out where you're
Uh,
going with this.
He has to have a few hits of the weed first before.
no, I'm trying to word this in a non, so like, uh, no, that doesn't make sense. Hold on. You know, hmm. No, I can't.
Why
Maybe
don't we
we'll
just come
skip
back
this
to this,
one.
Mike?
We'll come
Okay.
back to it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
All
I'll
right.
let you stew around with
No, I
this.
don't want to ask this question and then get a visit later. That's
Oh,
why
Oh,
okay.
it's not that I don't know what I want to ask. I'm trying to figure out how to word it, and it just isn't coming around properly. We'll skip it and come back if I come up with a way
Okay.
to say it. Sorry.
All right.
um,
Um,
so you mentioned the multiple prongs and things like that. So as someone that is, we'll just call them normies. That's what we usually refer to them as statist.
normies.
Voting right and left. Um, what is something that you can recommend to someone that is living, a normal American life that they can do as like a good stepping stone towards agorism?
For beginners.
Well, honestly, the first thing I would say, I don't think anyone's going to get right into, oh, I'm just going to fuck the state over. But I do think that people are, especially in these times, receptive to the idea that they should be taking care of their future, right? So, it maybe they need to get into something like storing extra food or rotating gas or, just developing a side hustle, doing things to get themselves away from their dependency on, the main supply chains and their corporate employer and these people who have power over them because it's just good for them, right?
Hmm.
So there's another story that I heard. I think Jack Spirko, if you know who that is, was the
I've not
Survivor
personally heard of it.
podcast.
Mhm.
Definitely go listen to him. But one story that he told was he knew this electrician that would go to people's houses and he would tell them, well, you can't put an outlet there because it's not to code.
Yeah.
But here's all the things I would do if I were going to put it in, and here's what I would do to make it safe, and this is what I would charge you. But by the way, it's not to code. And people will be like, well, look, here's all this stuff that you're going to do to make it good. So yeah, I'll do it. And so they just pay him cash and they'd get it done anyway. And these are
Hmm.
like normies, just regular home owning people. So that's the way I look at it. People just need to be looking for ways to protect themselves and to better themselves economically or whatever. And that's what's going to attract them to agorism. And so the way I see it, the people who are serious agorists, the people who call themselves agorists, need to develop the institutions for the normies to come and want to use that are going to be
Yeah.
better and more efficient, right? I don't look at it like, oh, we have to convince everyone to become an agorist, right? And this is one of my sticking points of why I don't call myself a libertarian anymore. I went through this whole thing, I don't know, 6 months to a year ago about that, which is that there's kind of this idea that, okay, well, we have to educate people and develop a libertarian society, and then everything will be fixed because people just won't think that way anymore. But the way I look at it, like I said, people are looking out for their own best interests. So what we need to do is just provide them with the product, provide them with the services, the institutions that are going to take care of these functions, right? You want to create a society with private roads, okay, start building private roads,
Building them.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I don't see why we need to convince everyone that the government paying for roads with your stolen tax dollars it's not going to get us private roads. Just
See,
build the
I'm not
private
gonna
road.
lie. When I first
Yeah.
got involved with the LP and more active libertarians and shit like that, I was still like, well, maybe like I was still I kind of expected them to do that stuff. I mean, like they didn't do that stuff.
They definitely
Spoiler
did not do
alert.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Spoiler
it's a political
alert,
party.
they didn't
Right.
do that shit. But
Right.
that was what I was thinking that they would do if they were together and organized, because I'd never been with organized libertarians before, you know.
Right.
And so I was like super
Yeah.
excited and shit. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna do all this kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
And then like there's like three or four active, really badass motherfuckers, and everyone else just likes to show up for the club meetings, basically.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, that because it
and
feels like
so
everyone just
yeah,
sits around and bitches. That's what their job is. Yeah.
Agorism was way more appealing to me after I bounced all across the board, though.
It's kind of
Like
funny
I
that the
started
Libertarian Party
left
made
and
us
I
more
leaned
extreme.
right, and then I bounced back, but I went like if we were, I guess if you think of the political kind of compass or whatever, I just kind of like leaned
Mhm.
left and leaned right all down here
Right.
at the bottom, and then just kind
Yeah.
of banked off of Ancapistan right back down into this like I don't really care. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do what I do,
Yep.
and you guys should do what you do. And I don't really see it.
Yep.
What do you think about like debate and arguing theory and stuff like that? Do you do that, or do you think it's a waste of time?
I mean, I do, but only with people that I'm like close friends with. So I've had a lot of like philosophy debates and things like that recently, but I pretty much stay off like, like Twitter. I hardly use Twitter anymore because it's just, I don't really
Soul
see the
sucking?
point in trying to, yes, I don't see the point in trying to convince a socialist not to be a socialist. Let's put it that way. Like I said, it's provide them with the product that's going to get them where they want to be. And so
Well, yeah.
I'm building this side hustle. I'm working on the product and building a brand, which I need to get better at that part. But I'm trying to keep up this blog and build a product that eventually I'd like to see, owning an actual seller and selling either on a store shelf or at a bar, served at a bar. Which brings me kind of to my next point. We've got this crazy idea. So you guys know what Childeberg is?
Yeah, I do, but explain it for everybody else
Yeah,
because we
for
have
everyone,
like
for
new
the
people
audience.
to this. Yeah, explain
Yep.
this. Get into story
Okay.
mode.
All right. So starting 2 years ago? Well, 1 year ago, year and a half ago. I don't know. Summer of 2019,
Give
we
or
started
take.
this thing called Childeberg, and it started as a joke. It was Car Campit of the Friends Against Government podcast on Twitter made a joke about how the Bilderberg group was going to get together and do this big thing, and it's like a Hillary Clinton, NGO forum. And he's like, I'm going to stay home and protest and drink by myself and call it Childerberg. So we turned it into an anarchist camping trip down in Texas that we do annually. And what I started doing is I'm going to go down there with a truckload of booze, and we're all going to have a real good time. Oh, by the way, you can donate to Free Ross there. I run it. One of the guys who started the trip also runs it. You can buy t-shirts at childerberg.com, and that funds the camping sites. And all of the overhead goes to Ross Ulbricht's legal fund, which is also what I do is I'm going to be doing a wine tasting here next Memorial Day, and everybody can show up, have some mead, try some. I've got like 7 or 8 different flavors coming this year. And, we'll be taking tips, donations, whatever you want to call them, trying to raise money for that. And so we've kind of got this idea going now where we're going to take the vibe, the chill, the camping, the people who get along and have this ideological agreement for the most part, and build a town out of it, right? So imagine if you could just live in a neighborhood, right, where everybody kind of gets it,
Just gets it.
Yeah. And the way I've formulated it is kind of like in the idea of a club. So if you can move into a neighborhood with your friends and people that you actually could see yourself, living alongside for the long term, right? So you're not in the middle of, for example, Portland, Oregon, around people who are, rioting in the streets and all that. Like, no, you've got your group. You guys take care of each other. You've got, maybe some of you are really into growing plants. Maybe some of you are really into baking bread, whatever it is. Like, think of it like you've got your own local, like, group farmers market kind of thing going on. And it doesn't all have to be growing food. I keep bringing that up because that's kind of the classic example. But, I'm currently talking about doing things like setting up off-grid power and things like that, so that this has like a long-lasting effect, at least for the people who want to move in. But the idea is that it exists alongside whatever community happens to also be there. So we're interacting with a community. Like, if I'm doing the Agorist thing and I'm doing the farmers market thing or whatever you want to do, it's not just the people who are, Childerberg members, let's call them. You're also interacting with whatever community is nearby. And so that's going to draw people in, and you're going to be setting an example, for lack of a better term, right? So people are observing this community develop, and it's people who are, the community is people who are really like into this thing, and they're going to go, hey, they're doing something right. And so people get on board with it, people interact with it, and people join up, or maybe not, maybe they're one foot in, 1 foot out. But the idea is to get people thinking this way, right? And they're only going to do that by seeing people do it. It's not going to be, they heard somebody argue for agorism on Twitter.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I'm constantly nagging about. I'm like, you guys are in here talking about all this shit that people should be doing, but you don't do it yourselves. We have to get out there and actually start doing it.
Yeah.
So that
you got to build these communities. Yeah. So, let's see. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna read you this comment that I made to some friends about this idea, just because I think it'll make it a little bit more clear. So I'll preface this. We did a sort of a town hall roundtable meeting about this, discussing the idea of intentional community. So if you want to look that up, there's a podcast called Californian in Exile by Jacob Lindsay. He's doing it's his second podcast that he's doing right now. And we had a little roundtable session. It was 3 hours long, about this idea of intentional community and how you would build this. What are the ways that you could, interact with the rest of society while maintaining that degree of separation, right? So this is kind of where my thoughts are at on it right now. So let's see. Okay, focusing on culture and having a group that, as suggested by John Bush, the guy who did the Freedom Cell Network. So that's another one, freedomcells.org. It's kind of the same idea, but online. Okay, so
I've
John
actually
Bush,
met quite a few people through freedomcells.org. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I need to get on there. Okay, so focusing on culture and having a group that, as suggested by John Bush, is a cell together and works almost as an accountability buddy to ensure prets and mutual aid in times of hardship is, to me, the best way to get what we want. I am no longer enamored by the idea that we could starve the state of tax dollars and bring about its end. Rather, that we simply try to achieve what's best for ourselves and families despite the crumbling world around us. The broad end of world peace, and end with a capital E, of world peace, anarcho anything, is simply an unachievable spook designed to freeze us into inaction. As Konkin puts it, but sometimes we must not look to the stars, but to ourselves. So that's kind of my idea, is like, don't go into the woods and build a hippie commune and not interact with the rest of the world. What we want to do is build a community that is in the middle of everything else. Like, we're intermingling with everyone and showing them, hey, we've got this really cool club that has this, chill vibe. And the idea is no politics, no bullshit. We're just here to, help each other out and do things that are increasing everyone's prosperity around us, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's good stuff there.
Yeah, I fucking love it.
I think that one sums it up as well as I can sum it up. So yeah, hit the Freedom Cell Network, Jack Spirko. Oh, and Jack Spirko has an episode. I was going to bring that up. Episode 2701. He actually has a whole thing about how a private club can get around a lot of regulations. So if you want ideas about agorism, there you go.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, I'm giving you links. I came prepared.
That's good.
Good.
One of my favorite stories about regulation is back in Prohibition, where they were saying something along the lines of you couldn't be served alcohol without having food to eat with it, and so bars would commonly serve.
They're doing that. They're doing that today, aren't they?
Yep, exactly. Yep. Yeah, they kind of brought that shit back. Gotta love the people.
Yeah, nothing is new.
Everyone becomes super agorist whenever it actually starts affecting their lives, as far as the law goes.
Well, yeah, of course. But the rest of the time, they just kind of like slack off and get lazy and.
Right.
But you had mentioned earlier about like planting food and growing your own food, all that good stuff. And to me, that's like one of the biggest things that you can really do. I mean, that's kind of killing multiple birds with one stone, because a lot of the times you end up growing more than you can really eat.
Exactly. It's profitable. It's healthy. Right.
Yeah, and especially in like today's age where everybody's really concerned about like eating organic and healthy and like the non-GMO type of deal. It seems to be a win-win-win.
You see the shortages at the grocery store right now. That's why I brought up supply chains. Like, you've got to realize the amount of things that you can do for yourself that make you resilient to this kind of bullcrap.
Well, I mean, that's kind of why Mike and I are so upset with the Libertarian Party, because this should be like prime time for them. They should be winning elections left and right, and it's like they're fucking quiet. Like Mike is an elected official of the Libertarian Party at this point.
I don't know about that. I'm just the vice chair of the county. It's not
which is an elected official.
But
anyway,
we don't do anything, and. Like, we're in the middle of a place that's very fucking receptive, and I'm constantly going, just come outside. Like, I need you guys to just come outside and talk to people.
Yeah, just get off the phone.
And now, like, we were using, like, what we do is we spread out, and we have, like, a platform on everything, even, like, from centralized to decentralized, and, because we know the centralized platforms are not going to hold us for very long. They're, we got banned on Facebook, and because the LP only exists on Facebook, which is really weird for libertarians, if you ask me. Now, like, I'm fully cut off from the LP because they only speak, like, I could only get them to speak to me on freaking Facebook for the most part. I've got like one or two people that are texting me here and there, but that's about it. And I'm just like, oh man, I feel like they put me in a different goddamn country. And it's it sucks because, like, with every other group that I have, I can talk everybody else into getting like decentralized communications and stuff like that we don't have to worry about having taken away from us. And that's the best way to do it. You don't fuck suing like Zuckerberg or some shit like that. Just go somewhere they can't do it. And I don't mean go to another company's place where they say they're free speech. Build something.
Right.
Get in a decentralized node. It's the same thing as like the farming and stuff like that, though. It's just a different aspect of it. Like, we can take control of our lives right now. We don't have to be given the ability to take control of them. And so, like, yeah, and that's like such a fucking selling point for me, like, I'm like, wait, you mean just do whatever? And like, the thing is, like, I was doing this shit before I actually realized it was a thing. And then I met other agorists and they started telling me about it and everything. And I'm like, this is a thing and people do it? Like, I was so excited to realize that, like, this was a thing that so many people did, and that, like, I wasn't just like a weirdo, an obstinate weirdo.
You're still a weirdo. Don't.
Because, like, all my Norby friends and stuff, they're just like, you're such an obstinate weirdo. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But
I tell you what, here. So speaking of, I guess, more agorist tactics, if you want to get into the more activist side of it, I've got...
Oh, shit. The alcoholics over there in the chat are wanting to buy your booze.
Yeah.
Starts really quick.
Go to childerberg.com, get on the email list if you want to try some. I've got quite a bit coming next year. But what you can buy from me right now, I've got bumper stickers for $1.
Bumper stickers. Oh, I like it.
Yep. There you go. So here's the original Conkin quote. So he was passing these out like he had, those little rip-off things, like you make a paper and it's got like the little cut-up bits where you just rip it off and take it.
The little tear with the number or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, whatever's on there.
We used to have those all the time.
Conkin was spreading these around in 76 against politics. In the 76 election, it says, on election day, vote for nobody. Nobody keeps his promises, his campaign promises. Nobody can legislate freedom for you. Nobody deserves to spend your earnings. And then it says counter campaign 76, and it's got a P.O. box. So that's what I'm saying. Like, propaganda, white hat propaganda. So I'm trying to one of my things, and like I said, I'm not super big on this idea that we're going to convince everybody, but one of the things that I do think helps is like you were saying, you had no idea that people did that shit.
Yeah.
If we can get this idea out there on paper, on billboards, on bumper stickers, right? Like, go put stickers in the bathroom at the bar. We need people to see this and go, oh, that's a thing? Because it wasn't until Molyneux brought up Rothbard, and I was like, well, who the hell is that? And then Dave Smith says, yeah, you should read Anatomy of the State. And I go, okay. And I read this, and I go, wait, people have actually thought about this, and it's not just punk rock 90s kids who are retard socialists, angsty socialists, right? Because that's what I thought growing up. I had no idea that this was a real thing and that it's hundreds of years old. So if we can just make it seem normal, make it look more widespread than it is, or maybe it is more widespread and none of us know that because we can't get in contact with other people who think the same way, right? Because we're all too scared. So that's what I'm saying. Like, even if you want to be a gray man and not like put yourself out there because you're like, okay, I don't want to lose my job. In my case, I don't want to get arrested for booze. So no, I am not selling it. You are donating to Free Ross. And it is going to Free Ross. That's not a euphemism. But even if you want to do that and not put a bumper sticker on your own car, go stick it in a bathroom somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Make it look normal.
Just put it somewhere. Normalize it.
I can be an authoritarian piece of crap and put bumper stickers on my car that say I will goose step all over your neck because I can. And it doesn't matter if there's an elephant or a donkey on that picture. I don't care. And that's normal. Think about that. Why is that normal? But this, I'm just gonna, do what's best for me and sell you something that you want for something that in exchange for something that I want. How crazy is that? It's not crazy. It's not crazy. So that's where my head's at. And like I said, set an example. Do the stuff. If you just sit around talking about it all day, you're not convincing anyone.
Right. Yep. And I mean, and I've been getting so frustrated lately with like my theory friends, the ones that just they spend half the day talking theory, and I'm just like, so what are you gonna do about it? And they're like, what? And I'm like, what do you mean, what? What are you gonna do now? Like, you guys spent 5 hours talking about it. What's next?
But there's no plan. It's just whether or not it's at what point in the process of shooting a gun am I allowed to exert self-defense, right? It's like, no, we're past that point. We're already slaves. Like,
we need to get out. Yeah, exactly. Like, one of the easiest things, I love the garden, and it seems so fucking simple, and it's probably like stereotypical at this point.
It's a stereotype.
It is the easiest thing. Like, I've gotten so many people just like started on little things, like with like their herbs and their little gardens, and they like it, and they do more, and that's really all. You just really have to get people to realize, you don't have to fucking hit them with a box of theory. They don't ever have to even read theory.
Right. Well, and okay, so here's one. Let's get away from gardening step by step here. So learn how to dehydrate food and be stocked up, right? So you're supposed to have 3 months worth of paycheck to get you through in case something happens, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so I've also got 3 months worth of food. I'm going to learn how to dehydrate. I'm going to learn how to rotate gas, right? Another one might be I'm going to learn how to reload ammo because, hey, it's a hell of a lot cheaper. That's a better reason than, oh, because I have this crazy political theory and I read a whole bunch of books and now I have to sit here for 5 hours and explain that to you.
Hmm.
No, look, reload. It's cheaper.
It's cheaper.
It's cheaper. It's a skill, and you might be able to start a side gig out of it, right? I
Yeah, a
learned
lot of
how to
this stuff
brew.
is side gig
I've
stuff.
spent the last 2 years learning how to brew and having people try it and building up this idea that it's okay because I made it in my kitchen. It's not like I don't have a meth lab out in the shed. That one's real. I do not. But uh and the way I've described it before is like, okay, I have these edge cases where there's no stigma, right? So in some cases, like I live in a very conservative state. If I went around selling weed, there's a lot of people, like older folks, that would be very upset if they found that out. But when I
Right.
start brewing my own beer or mead in this case, and I bring it to Thanksgiving, guess what people do? Hey, can I try some? Hey, that's really good. Hey, how much does it cost to make that thing? Oh, okay. Well, if I give you enough money to buy honey, would you bring it again next year? Hey, you know what? That took a lot of time. Would you might, I don't know. I tell you what, if you give me $15 for the stuff, and they give me a 20, and I forget to give them change because who cares? You know? And nobody, normies, statists, whatever you want to call them, nobody thinks there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing the stuff that has stigma, but I am doing the stuff that pushes that little bit in your brain that goes, this is kind of illegal, but I kind of don't care. Huh, that's weird.
That's a good point,
So
actually.
that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, although these days you can actually get away with the weed thing all over in a
Well,
lot of
yeah. I
places. Like
mean,
here,
like I
this
said,
is like a
it's the older
college
crowd in my
town
area.
hipster redneck place. Everybody gets high. Like rednecks and
Right.
hipsters, they both like weed.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't give a shit
everybody
what
does. But that's what I'm
anybody
saying.
says, but
It's the older crowd in my area. So, and my
yeah.
hometown happens to be known as like the retirement community of my state. So like everybody
Oh
just goes there to
Lord.
die, and all the young people move out. So soon to be ghost town.
Well,
We'll see.
is it quiet?
But like I said, it's also a pretty good town for meth if you're into that, I guess.
Oh well, I mean, I guess it's probably not always quiet then, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to hear what I thought were gunshots growing up, but I was pretty sure they were meth labs popping
Just
off.
popping off. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because there was a little too much boom to it.
I mean, it
But
might have been. Who knows? Uh, we
Why
used
not
to.
both?
Oh my
yeah,
God.
why
When
not both?
we lived in a ghetto like area where they had a lot of meth labs in apartment buildings, and so
Oh,
like the
jeez.
apartments were always on fire.
Oh,
like
no.
like I remember, um, standing on the back porch balcony, looking out at this burnt out husk of a building across the way, and then looking down with the police like opening up someone's door, and like there's just red everywhere, and I'm like, Mom, and she's like, what? And I'm like, we gotta move now. And she's like, why? And I'm like, don't come out on the porch.
Oh, jeez.
And that was
Wow.
just like, and people think that places like Fort Worth and stuff aren't really that crazy, but like there are pockets everywhere. There are
Hmm.
places. It was like contested and filled with meth labs. It was bound to be dangerous.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like I know that some people, like I personally don't care if something's illegal. I'm just, but I get the selling points of being more digestible. I guess. Is that a better way? I don't know if that's
Yeah,
an
well,
okay. Yeah.
and more people, the way I look at it, like everybody loves weed, you're right, but I think people generally drink more than, doing, like if obviously they're habitual pot smokers and whatnot, but like, I don't know, there's something artisanal about being a brewer.
Yeah.
Because you see the craft brew, like craft beer and whiskey really taking off in the past decade. And,
I tried it. It's
you can
not.
go crazy with like bottle labels and stuff like that. In fact, you know what? I'm on camera. I'll show you one.
I put one of your bottle labels on our thumbnail for the episode.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, which it was the Blood of Tyrants.
Oh, yeah, that's the classic. That, yes.
It should
this
be.
is it? Oh, there it is. Yeah, so I've got the whole Free Ross thing on here, and it's a semi-sweet traditional mead by Agora Brewing. So
I have to ask you, did you ever explode it?
Did I ever explode it?
Like, did your mead ever explode? Because like when I tried it for a little while and I gave up after I blew it up inside it.
The bottles or the?
I guess I didn't seal it properly or something.
Oh, you mean while it was fermenting?
The whole closet, man, fucking covered in foam. Or
okay? So one of the things. So hold on.
I'm like newbie, like I fucking ruined it. It was terrible, and then I was like, "No, I'm not doing this again." As I'm
actually planning on doing it here soon. I've actually got a kit and everything coming.
Well, speaking
I'll
of,
drink
so this is the other. This is the other brand building thing I'm doing. The other brand building thing I'm doing is a never brewed before amateur mead class. I'm actually starting that here in about 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got, I don't know, like 8 or 10 people in there right now. And it's just going to be like weekly Discord hangouts. We're going to get in voice chat. I'll be on video. I'm going to record it so that we can look back on it, probably upload it to YouTube or whatever. And this first one's going to be free because I've never done this before. But the idea is I can't, one of the problems is distribution, right? So we talk about Agorism, like we're like, okay, well, if I'm doing liquid in a bottle, it's kind of hard to just like send that to somebody's house in the mail.
Yeah.
So
they get all weirded out about that in the mail.
Well, if it breaks, see, I've done it before too, but if it breaks, then they're going to smell it and they're going to go, not cool, right? But if you pack it well, it's fine. The problem is it's really freaking expensive because you need a big box. It's kind of heavy because it's liquid. Yeah, anyways. So I was like, well, I've got all these people asking me questions because they've never done it before. And I'm sitting here spending like an hour typing things out to different people every time someone asks me a question. Hey, why don't we all just get together and I'll show you how to do it? And I think I'm a little bit better than some of the sources you're going to find on,
like a little class.
Yeah, exactly. Just like a little group class. We all do the same batch together, and I show you how to do things as we go along. And I'm going to spend the first 3 weeks talking about just like the different, like first like equipment and things like that, but then ingredients, a lot of things that have to do with like math and nutrient and all that stuff, which I won't get into here, but
it's the anarchist brew book.
Start brewing it. Yeah, exactly. It's a brewing club. And yeah, so that's going to help with the brand building. I really want to actually have a product that I can sell, like that is not the alcohol, because like I said, I can't distribute it, and I can't, it's hard to get away with it without getting arrested. So I don't want to do that. I just want to be the guy who brings it to Childerberg and shares it with my friends, and that's totally legal.
More and more what I'm coming to understand is that we need an Agorist delivery service or an Agorist delivery network.
Uber, but for shipping.
Right. Yep. Like you just, like someone needs to build an app where we can get in it, and then like people can agree to like move shit for each other all across the US. Oh god, I'm gonna get a visit now.
We need Lysander Spooner's mail company that he made. But yeah, he went to jail for that too.
I mean, yeah.
Well, or he
Speaking
at least
of
got
going
shut
to
down. I don't
jail,
know.
since you've mentioned it a lot, and we have like people who are like, we have some vets of liberty and we have some newer people and stuff like that. Who is Ross and why should we free him?
Yeah, I definitely should tell you about that. Okay.
Yeah, explain
So
that.
yes. So Ross Ulbricht.
This is
Okay. So
important,
Ross
y'all. Listen
Ulbricht.
up.
This is what Agorism was until we started getting smart. Okay. Ross Ulbricht was like, I think 20 years old or something like that, real young kid, when he developed a website called The Silk Road, which is what I named this mead after. And what it was free market. It's like Craigslist, but like people were using Bitcoin on it. So it was free market transactions, no taxes, no regulation, except they wouldn't allow things that violated other people's rights because he was a libertarian. That was his thing.
Yeah, it was NAP compliant.
Yes. So no hitmen, no kiddie porn, nothing like that. But basically what it got used for a lot was people were buying weed on the internet.
Yeah.
A couple of FBI agents infiltrated the administration of the website and got him and a whole shitload of people arrested for drugs. Basically, they made it a drug thing. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of screwed up stuff about the case. This is actually the root of where the stigma against Bitcoin comes from, because Silk Road made the news and it was like, oh my God, this is the thing that people buy hitmen with and buy drugs with.
Yeah, there was a lot of misinformation about what was being done on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of fake Silk Roads that were doing shit like that too. But it wasn't actually the Silk Road. There were several that popped up that were less than reputable, but it wasn't the real Silk Road.
So, yeah. The FBI agents that cornered him, by the way, so this is why it was extra sketchy. There was an account that ran it called the Dread Pirate. What is it? It's Robert. A character from the
the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Roberts, Dread Pirate Roberts, which is a character from the
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. I kept wanting to say Corpse Bride. I was like, that's not it.
Not
okay,
old
Princess
enough.
Bride, and yeah, and so the FBI agents had control of it, and there were multiple people anyways who had control of that account, and that's what was running the website. So the FBI agents could have been culpable in the thing that wasn't allowed to be given to the jury. They stole a shitload of Bitcoin, like hundreds of Bitcoin, which is like millions of dollars today.
Oh yeah.
That was not allowed to be brought to the jury. And the prosecution told the jury before the trial, oh yeah, we're pretty sure that they were using this Bitcoin to buy hitmen and stuff. Never charged Ross or any of the other defendants with that, but they brought it up to the jury and the judge didn't throw the whole thing out. So the judge was against it, the prosecution was against him, the whole thing was rigged.
Court. It was
it's actually
joke.
It's actually something that's come up recently that Mike and I were talking about with the whole Michigan thing. I don't know if you heard about the Michigan governor getting there was a conspiracy of her getting kidnapped by supposed Boogaloo boys.
Oh, that
turns out the head of it all was a fucking Fed. So it was literally a Fed coming up with the plan.
They lure you in and they get you to go buy the stuff for it, and then they arrest you when they're the ones who started it, and you would have never even thought that was an option to you if they had.
That's not a new thing, but they've gotten
it's entrapment.
They've gotten bolder and bolder about it more.
Because they know they're not going to get stopped.
Well, nobody's
just like police officers shooting your dog. Like, who's going to stop them?
Right? It's But okay, so this is what I'll finish on with Ross.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
He got double life plus 40 for nonviolent charges. He was a first-time offender, and no one else who was involved, even people who were multiple offender drug dealers, they all got like the maximum that I saw was like 4 years, maybe. It was like 3 or 4 years.
Book at him.
Yeah, so
they made a quote example of him.
Yeah, and it was double life plus 40, nonviolent crimes, first-time offender. Bullshit. at this point, because this has been going on for years, what was that, 2011 when that happened?
Well, he threatened their
2013?
sovereignty and their monopoly, and they wanted
Yes.
to make sure that nobody ever did that again.
Yes. So after all of these years, his mom has been, doing speaking gigs and
Yes.
everything else, trying to get, support. Please go to
God
freeross.org
bless her.
and sign the petition. Please donate. Please come to Childeberg, enjoy some booze, donate there. And
Tell people
at
about
this
Ross.
point, yes, but at this point, the only thing that's getting him out is a pardon from the president. So what we're doing is we're paying the legal bills for her to try to keep this thing going so that maybe that'll happen one day. I don't know if it will, but I'm not going to let that die because I cannot, as a guy who looks up to people who've tried to live this life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to just let him sit there. Like, I'm going to keep donating and keep working for that because it sucks, man. It sucks.
This sounds
The
like
whole
your
life.
version
He's
of.
got a life sentence.
This sounds like your version of Duncan
Agorist.
Lamb.
He's like
Yeah.
the Agorist Assange at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
mean, that's
both
kind of the
those.
thing. That seems to be a common trend within the anarchist community is that we essentially have martyrs for the ideals. We have Duncan Lip,
Well, yeah, because
Breonna Taylor.
these people are all just trying to do. They're just trying to
They're
like
living their fucking lives,
live
and then
their
the police come
lives,
in and
and then the
fucking execute
government.
them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just asleep in bed next to your pregnant girlfriend and you don't wake up, right?
As you do, you know. As
Yeah,
long as you
and
live
it's
in a
like, oh,
fucking
this
police
is
state.
normal. Yeah, it's insane. That's not normal, right? So,
Yeah, you
all
shouldn't
right,
have to worry about getting in a fucking shootout with the cops over your illegal chickens. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
Or the fact that
But,
you could even have illegal chickens. Like,
right,
what in
right.
the fuck is an
An integral part of
illegal
human life.
chicken? Y'all,
Yeah.
that's a real thing, an illegal
Well,
chicken.
see, it's because you were dumb enough to subscribe to yet another government called an HOA, and they said you couldn't have them, right? Like, don't, like, this is why, okay, so
I
Childeberg
hate
Town
HOAs.
is not an HOA. It's a club. Like, I want to specify that. Like, don't
Wait, so like,
give
if
people
I wanted
power
to
over your property.
grow corn in my
Don't do
front
that.
yard, it would be okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what color to paint your house.
Hell yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna
that's
have
just-
the ugliest house in the neighborhood.
No, like, I'm going to go off grid when I do it. I'm planning on building a cabin. Like,
That's actually like the long-term dream.
Yeah, I want a
goal is to
tiny
build my
house
own
and a
place.
tree. I'm not gonna lie. I have always wanted a tiny house and a tree, like just
yeah.
out in
You're
the
a
middle
weird
of
person.
Did you ever
nowhere.
watch that on History Channel? It was called, like, Tree People.
Yes.
Oh, so good.
Yes,
I love that.
like it started when I was a kid and I wanted to study the rainforests, and I realized that they live in these canopy tent houses on top of the fucking forest, and I thought that was the coolest shit. And I've been obsessed with wanting to live in a tree ever since. Fantasy books didn't help any at all.
Right. Yep.
But like the fact that people are doing that everywhere, like I think that it would be neat, but I do want to get into like the middle of nowhere with a tiny house where I can grow my shit and have my goats and make my biofuel and largely
Yep.
be left alone unless I want to go out, you know? And that I think is basically what, I mean, not specifically, but just to be left alone to do what we want to do, so long as we're not fucking hurting anybody, is the basis.
Yeah. That it really comes down to the two. There's two ideas, right? And one of those, which is the statist idea, is that we have to all be on the same program, right? Like we can't just live our own lives like, oh no, if this is good, therefore everyone has to be under that system. And it's like, I don't know why we can't just agree to disagree and then move on with our lives. Like,
well, I mean, the whole idea of unifying our systems, that's not even really an old thing. That's a new thing. Like, people are freaking out. They're like, what if we had 50,000 different currencies? Wouldn't that be crazy? And I'm like, it wasn't that long ago that we did, and it was fine.
Dude, it wasn't that long ago in human history that America was made up of 50 different countries, right? Well, I guess it
It
was
ought to
13
be
and then slowly
now. Well,
acquired the
well,
rest of the
yeah,
continent, right? But it was
yeah.
13 different countries. It wasn't, oh, this is people settling down and then a government called the USA formed. No, it was 13 countries.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a new idea, but it's also, I think, kind of old in the idea that, like, you think about world conquest, like the Roman Empire was vast, right? Like everybody has to subscribe to at least this much of the same shit because for some reason I can't handle the idea of being a different person from you.
Right.
And
Well, you get
I
wrapped.
think libertarians even do that. Like mainstream libertarians will say like, oh, we have to bring freedom. We have to we have to demolish the state. And it's like, or you could learn how to
Just
do that shit
ignore the
yourself
state and tell
and
it no
let
thank
them
you.
go. Let it
Yeah.
go.
One of
No
the
thank
biggest
you.
things through
The change you want
You
to see in
know,
the
they're
world.
always like, just say no to drugs. I'm like, just say no to the state. Just
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
would. Do you know how powerful it would be if, like, even like a small fraction of an area just went, no, I don't think we're gonna do that, and that's all it would fucking take because they wouldn't be able to
Well,
really.
but you don't want to get Waco'd, right?
Well, okay, yeah, it's
This
gotta
is
be a
yeah.
decent fraction enough, but like it doesn't take that much. What is it they say
That's
it
why I
takes
say
for an uprising?
you want the
Like, what if
outside community.
6% of the United States all just said, nah, no thanks, fam?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, Pareto principle and all that. But that's why I say like you want people interacting with you. So like I'm gonna have a bar that is open to everybody, not just the club. And that way it's not, oh,
Exactly.
we're this
Well,
building out in the woods that's gonna get bombed. No, this is just a valuable part of the community and we happen to belong to a club.
one of the big
right?
things people tend to forget about as far as like we're talking about coexisting in different areas, breaking away and not listening to the state, is all the empires that have ever existed, they did exactly that. Like the Roman Empire was not just like everybody was a white Roman from Italy. That's not how it worked.
Right.
It was like
Exactly.
the Egyptians were basically free. The
Right.
only
Yeah.
thing that made them Roman was that they gave the Romans grain, but they made a fuck ton of money from Rome. As far as the Egyptians were concerned, they were
Yeah.
getting the cream of the crop of the deal. It's the same thing for like the Jews in Israel and stuff like that. For a long time, they were left alone and let made they could do whatever they wanted to do. That was basically how all the provinces worked. Because when you have an empire, when you have something that large, you kind of need your people to be happy, and you
Yeah.
can do that very easily by letting them do whatever the fuck they want to do. As long as they pay their taxes, typically everything was okay. As long as the Roman Empire was getting their money, everything was good. But we can't even get that much now. It's getting to the point where it's like we have to have the same cultural identity across the board.
Right. And I think my idea for that is that they couldn't enforce cultural a monoculture across a country like that. Now with things like social media and
I think that's the big ticket,
modern
social
I
media.
don't even
electronic
think they
banking,
can do
right?
it
Like
now. They have
everybody's
to
connected and
polarize it.
yeah, but that's just how they direct, right? Like the polarization and the right versus left. It's just how they direct our behavior. It's not actually us against us. It's just, but that's what I'm saying. Like all of these are methods of control that didn't exist before, and so
Yeah.
they're not content with just taxes because they know that they're going to take even more than that. Once they get everybody so plugged in that they can't get out without being so disconnected from the rest of society that they can't even like go to the dentist to get an infected tooth removed, right? Like they can't even do that without
Socialized healthcare. Just say it.
Fedcoin and a vaccine hat, right? Like it's
Yeah.
yeah. But that's
Well,
why I want
it's
these
no
students, right? I
wonder
want an
that.
Agorist dentist. I want somebody who's going to allow me in without a COVID vaccine next year, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to have these things available to people, and it doesn't have to be, a backyard garden. It's whatever business you have, just try to, I go into a mom and pop smoke shop. You think anybody in that building wears masks? Nope.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
so that's Agorism. There you go.
Yeah, it's like going into
Like,
Walmart compared to going into like Tractor Supply or something. They know they know their audience. Like you go into Tractor Supply, nobody's fucking
exactly.
wearing a mask. Nobody says anything.
Well, yeah, you go to my Walmart, it's about 50-50, but yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it just, um,
Don't go to Walmart. Fuck
like
Walmart.
Yeah, that's the
non-compliance
first
is
step.
something that,
Sorry,
well, yes, but like
I'm sitting here
non-compliance
in
is
Little
something that
Rock
we
and I'm
all
like,
do.
fuck you, Waltons. Jesus Christ, I hate
Yeah.
those guys so much.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I feel you.
Oh.
One of the really interesting things to me is
Like,
the left's culture that like they're always talking about the inclusion of everybody and like having all these different groups of
well,
the various minorities, the LGBTQ, the gay community, stuff like that. But they're also the most in my opinion, the most aggressive with trying to enforce this homogenous culture. Like you have to be thinking exactly our way, or you're against the herd type of mentality. So it's very
oh yeah, I
interesting to me
totally
that they
got
have
thrown
that.
out of
Yeah,
the
and
herd.
that's the mentality that I'm talking about. It's it's everybody's got to be this way because I can't even understand that someone might be different.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
like
It's like how could you possibly like Trump? That it's the
and
mentality that's going through
Right.
everybody's
just
head
Yeah,
over
like
yeah.
there
you
right now.
said,
Well,
and
and they're
something
taught
I've
to
been
assume that other people already agree with them, right? So, like,
Hmm.
if you're in an argument with someone, you act like the person who is pro-Trump is the outlier. Like,
right.
Right.
what? How could you think that? That's so crazy. And it's like, no, this is a pretty 50-50 split. It's not that out there,
Yeah.
So, and
Well,
that, I mean,
and
that goes for
just
both
like you
sides
were
too, I
kind of
think.
saying earlier, and something I've been hitting on like aggressively for fucking months is that like it's even seeping into like more libertarian and anarcho style mindset people.
Hmm.
We're I guess drinking the Kool-Aid or getting whipped up into the hype or whatever. Um, or maybe we've been doing it forever. Can't really remember a time when we didn't actually like nitpick and gatekeep each other, but it just seems a lot worse than it has been.
I think there's a
I
certain
Um,
mean,
cultural requirement for anarchists
for
because
real,
of
well,
that.
you have like left anarchists being like or the ANCAPs aren't real anarchists, and the ANCAPs are like, well, the
right.
ANCOMs aren't real anarchists, and
They've
then
been
But at
doing
the end
that
of the
for a
day,
long
they'll still
time. I
hate
don't
the
think that's
state.
new.
That's what matters. They're like
yeah, but
brothers and
they'd rather
sisters. They pick on
fucking
each other.
kill each other. They'd rather kill themselves than fucking work with each other at this point,
I
which
don't
is
believe that.
bad.
I don't believe that. If you see it in the
Mm,
streets, that's not how it works, and you know that. You know whenever
It
there's
depends.
like Boogaloo's going to be working with Antifa and all that shit. At the end of the day, we don't care about the economics. We hate the
Don't
state
say
way
that. We're
more.
gonna get visits. It
that's
I'm
depends
surprised there's
right.
not
on
people
where
already
you're
knocking on
at.
the door.
It depends on where you're at, honestly. But because like in some places, yeah, sure. Like out there, nobody fucking cares. Like on the street, it's not the internet.
Getting back
But
to the left and right dynamic, though,
that shit's
talking
seeping
about
into real people now, like out into the street now.
you would expect more variety from the left. I would think a more open-minded because that's kind of what they preach. Like whenever you look at the right, you would kind of
Well,
expect a closed-minded thing because they're conservative
Right,
Christians, constitutionalists. That's
right.
what you'd think of.
But
But
yeah,
it's
the
so it's
left.
like they were driven to become tolerant because they're like, you know what, live and let live. I don't care. But then the left is the one saying like, oh no, everybody's got to do this.
yeah.
Well, it's funny. Because you're bringing to mind, I had an ex girlfriend that was an intersectional feminist, and
Was she
this
pretty
was
though?
as and this is
Yeah.
right. This is as I was becoming an anarchist was when I realized why we had issues, and then I was like, oh, that makes sense, and
Oh,
that's how we right. But I
This
didn't
this
get it
feels
until then.
personal now.
I know, but what I was gonna say is that she was also being so she's a feminist, she's intersectional, she's supposed to be pro all this stuff, and yet she was the most prudish person I knew.
Mm.
Isn't that weird, right? Like you're a feminist, you're supposed to be pro like being comfortable in your body and all this stuff, but like anytime anyone made like a dirty joke, oh my god, how could you?
Mm.
yeah.
Isn't
I
that
made my.
weird?
There was like a point where I like like okay. I've always been like socially incredibly progressive and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
And so like I ended up like wandering around with all like the left anarchists and shit like that for the longest time and everything. And like there was a moment where I like looked down and then I looked up and I didn't skip a beat. I kept saying the same damn things that I was saying before and doing the same damn shit. And they were just like, "Oh, you can't do that anymore." And I'm like, "What? This is retarded." And then they threw me out because you're not supposed to say retarded. And I'm like, well, um, I'm apparently like, it was really strange because like I remember the left being like very into individuality and shit like in the 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're incredibly collectivist.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's weird
I was getting
because
at-
like it's really strange. I can't like wrap my head around how often the right is trying to like befriend me either. Like that's weird. The American
Yeah.
left and right are really strange, and I
That's
just
something
kind of
weird
like
about
try
the
to
last,
avoid.
like-
I'm just like side eyeing them.
Like the last 6 months of my life has been really weird because I would get into conversations with like the guys at work, and like I'm in a very conservative area, so they're all pro-Trump, and I'm like, holy crap, I sound like such a hippie, and I was like hardcore like Thomas Jefferson fan and all this, and went like, so like here's the political spectrum, and this is like the top right, and I went like this, and then I went this. It's like, all right. That is really weird because then when I look further that way, or I guess to your left, I'm still like, these people are fucking nuts. But I look back the way I came and I'm like, that's so far away from me too. I don't even know what to think anymore. Like, I sound weird to myself because of where I came from, but
Yeah.
where
we
I am
actually
now, like I
bring this up with Mike Dunn, who's a prominent Boogaloo guy, and both of us kind of come
Okay.
from a similar
Paxton
background where we're
really
like
liked
right
that. He was like,
conservative
"Oh God, we're
Christian,
traditionalists."
and now we're over here talking about like fuck the police if they come at us, man. We got fucking firearms. Let's do this.
right.
And it's like
Oh,
never in a
no.
million years would I have ever thought I would be saying that. Like it was just ingrained in you, just on a social. Like no one in my family is like police or anything like that. It's just a social cultural thing around me that you just support the police. And now it's just like, fuck them. They're all tyrants. It's an extreme radicalization, very in a relatively short period of time. I saw Ron Paul in I think it was 2008 or 2012. I can't remember when he was on that Republican debate, and it was just been a downward slope since there.
You
To
talking
getting
about
into
the Giuliani moment?
Oh God.
no, I'm talking specifically the moment that like made me come to liberty was when he did the whole spiel about the legalization of
What?
drugs.
Oh,
The cocaine
okay.
speech.
Yeah, the cocaine
cocaine
speech.
speech.
Like, if we legalize cocaine tomorrow, how many of you are going to take cocaine? And of course, nobody.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, fuck, he's a smart person.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. And that's why they threw him on the banking committee and just hoped that he stayed there.
Yep.
And
became Dr. No.
Yep.
Did you ever figure out how the fuck you were going to say that thing, Mike?
No, I'm just gonna leave it there.
Okay, yeah.
Probably
I
best
don't.
not asked.
We've got enough reasons for them to be knocking on the door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're already gonna at some point or another. But like, no, I never imagined that. Like, okay, see, like you guys are. I never imagined that it would be like this, and I did start out saying "fuck the police." Like, I was like far left, crazy, uncontrollable child of demonness, and like I dare say I thought that behaving in a like I thought that we could be socialist but in a voluntary fashion, and I didn't think that was a big deal. I ended up like it was really weird because like I somehow ended up like banking off the sides of the trash can down here. Like I went from one extreme to the other and then went all of this is arbitrary and just kind of like stopped giving a shit economically at all.
Yeah, we both just consider ourselves just anti-authoritarians. We really don't. We sit like right in the middle. All we give a shit is about fuck the state. The state is bad. The economics we can argue about afterwards.
Well, it's becoming more of a meme now that economics is fake. So I'm fine with that as long as you're willing to offer me something for what I, have to offer you. Then I'm good. Random question. Okay.
Yeah, so this is actually a pretty interesting question. So I don't know if
Okay.
you're familiar with the political compass quiz. I think that's
Yeah.
what he's referring to.
Yes.
But he's asking
The
where would the
Union and
Union and the Federalists of the
Do
past
you mean
currently
hold
be?
on? Do you mean the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, or do you mean I don't know who the
I'm
Union refers to.
I'm assuming that's what he's referring to, like the Union
So,
of the states.
hmm. Well, I don't know.
I
I
don't think they would
mean,
be that far off from each other. I
they're
think
not, but I think the Federalists were more
definitely more
right
libertarian
and up.
leaning.
No, they were more right and up because the
Yeah, the
Oh
Anti-Federalists
no,
Federalists
I'm
were
were
thinking of the
pro.
localized.
You
anti-federalists.
see what?
The
Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
yeah.
because the
anti-federalists were more libertarian.
Federalists. This is the thing. So Ben Shapiro is going to tell you that the Federalists are super libertarian, but they were the ones arguing for the Constitution, which was
Right.
if you read Rothbard, the Constitution is a coup against the Articles of Confederation. So rather than a voluntary union of states, now we have a subsidiarity to this higher government. And Hamilton was trying to recreate the English monarchy in America. And, that I can say without a whole lot of pushback. But you can go listen to like Michael Malice, and he's kind of pro Hamilton. And then, Tom Woods is anti Hamilton. And you can think what you want about it, but that's what he was doing. He was
Fuck
recreating the
Hamilton.
British monarchy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't like him, but I
Hamilton.
don't,
That is my biggest
I don't.
complaint against George Washington is he started sucking Hamilton's dick at the very end of it, the
Ugh.
fucking Whiskey Rebellion and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, see? Yeah, and
He was cool up to that point. But
Yeah,
I
dude,
can't
you were
remember
so
who
it all
cool.
relates full circle.
what I think it wasn't Andrew Jackson. Was it Thomas
North
Jefferson that
versus South.
was resisting Hamilton for so long,
Yep.
and then he left, and then all of a sudden George Washington became a fucking statist.
Yeah, that's why I was a Jefferson fan. I mean, he was the only guy
Couldn't
who was
wait to lick
through
the
the whole
boot.
thing. Until he became president, and then he's like, "Oh, well, I got to go fight the French now, so I'm totally not going to worry about all these other issues."
That was one
It's
time.
like, why did you need to fight the French? You were just buddies with the French. I don't get it.
Imperialism.
But,
It was
yeah,
cool at the time.
We
and
would
the machine's
North
going to do
versus
what the
South
machine does.
of the time. Like, I
North
mean,
versus South, so Civil War?
Yeah, that's what they
the
clarified.
Confederacy versus the Union.
Okay, so you weren't talking. So you were talking Confederates versus the Union. Okay.
They were all just some filthy statists.
Yeah, no. So they were both filthy statists. The only thing I can say about the Civil War was that the Union proved by taking over the South and reasserting dominance that this is no longer a voluntary union of states.
Yeah.
The U.S. failed in 1865. Okay, period. Like, the whole purpose of the Civil War was to prevent. I mean, it's like a wife beater convincing the wife that they can't leave because if they do, they'll beat the shit out of them. Right? Like that's what happened.
The most proof you need is
agree
military
that the wife
occupation.
is too. Like, maybe she's crap too, right? The Confederacy was pro-slavery. Okay, that sucks too. But nobody won in that war. Like, all it did was prove that this is a giant open air prison that makes up half a continent.
It set the precedent that if the southern states wanted to leave again because they decide that they want to be anti-abortion, pro-life, and they decided that they want to succeed because the North is killing babies or whatever they want to have the argument of, that the North has every right to come in and say, no, we're going to kill babies in your state.
And this is so Abraham Lincoln is what I was talking about. It's, for some reason, I can't imagine a world in which these two groups of people are separate groups.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh, well, we have to be one group because that's just the way it is. And it's like, what? Are you just too lazy to go back to your maps and draw a thicker line down the middle? Like, is that really what it is? Like, I don't get it.
It sounds like work to me.
Well, it's a control thing.
Yeah, dude.
It's a power
Yeah,
control
and it is. And it's like everybody's on this crazy power trip.
So now that we're kind of talking about presidents, who's your favorite president?
Oh, favorite
That's a
president.
trick question.
There's only one correct answer. I will tell you that.
None.
There's two correct answers.
Okay, there's
I
two
was
correct
about to say,
answers.
yeah.
There's none in Calvin Coolidge. That's it.
Oh, is he the one who did the least?
He
Yeah.
literally did nothing.
Okay, there
and
we
even
go.
made
All
comments
right,
about
okay.
such.
I
Yeah,
was gonna
he's the
say,
one
'cause I
nobody
don't know them that
remembers
well.
because
That's why.
he didn't do anything.
I love that man.
I mean, I was
Pinnacle.
gonna say there are
I
things I
don't
like
love
about.
any presidents. I think that it
Right.
takes some sort of psychopath to want to fucking govern other
I-
people on that level.
My next project is actually reading about Calvin Coolidge because I'm super interested in the idea of how somebody that did fuck all became president. Like usually you have to have like this super status macho
He
dude
was
coming
vice-
in swinging his
he
dick
was-
around.
He
You
was
gotta have,
vice
like, a
president,
ex-CIA
and what
guy.
happened was he was vice president, and the person he was president for died, and he became president.
Mhm.
Is that really what happened?
Yes,
So
that's actually what
rode
happened.
coattails the whole way up.
That
And
would be.
then he ran for a second term and won because.
Oh, I do
a
remember
second
reading
term.
about how they chose him as vice president because they thought that he would be the least intrusive into their
Yeah.
like regime there, and then turns out
Little did
he
they
kind of was.
know. Yeah, the dude died. I can't remember what it was. It was something natural or something though. It wasn't like scandalous or anything.
Andrew
Nobody
Jackson
killed
was
him.
pretty based as well, but he was definitely a fucking dictator.
Yeah.
The only cool thing he did was fight the banks.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I liked that part of it, but obviously,
And he just has a cool story.
You know, he did get a lot of people killed.
It was pretty like
But
he just massacred the
he
Native
liked-
Americans a lot.
Well, I was
He
gonna say
liked to
that the
break
people
the
who are
NAP,
pro
like,
Jackson
all
will
the
argue
time.
that that's the best he could have done at the time, was try to move them. But of course, you know, a
Or
shitload
you
of
could
people
have
died
just
on the
left
way,
people
so it's
alone,
like,
you
well,
fucking asshole. Like
no,
leave
it
people
was.
alone.
You'd have to
Well,
go.
the
You
problem
remember
is-
a couple years ago when Dave Rubin did the President's Week, and there were like 5 people that came on and
Yeah.
made arguments about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
I
problem
can't
was
remember
the white
exactly
people
what
were
the argument
attacking the
was,
Native
but-
Americans regardless.
Yeah,
Like,
so
it was going to
Jackson was
happen.
trying to get them out
Yeah.
was the idea. But you know, I'm not gonna say that I know a whole lot about that, but that was the argument pro Jackson.
We're
Can I just hit on the fact that this man had somebody, Andrew Jackson had a person pull a gun on him, and the gun misfired or jammed, and he beat the shit out of that person, and his security guards had to pull Andrew Jackson off of this fucking dude because he was beating the shit out of him with his cane.
I mean, you deserve it.
We need those type of presidents again, I believe.
Right.
Like, what happened to
I
that?
don't know if
That's
we
what we
need
need to
that
do
kind
is
of
just bring
president
back
again
duels,
right now.
honestly.
Yeah, just bring back duels everywhere.
Bring back duels.
Exactly.
They have to be
That
voluntary
solves so many
though.
problems.
You
Well,
can't
yeah, you
force
agree
someone to
to it.
duel you.
Right, but you know, you throw
Unless
down
it's
the glove,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
you
Or
agree to it.
Pokemon.
There
Those
you
are the
go.
only duels that can
There you
be forced.
Everybody's like into video games and that what's the stuff that they call it? It's not virtual reality, it's augmented reality. We have like augmented reality monster battles or something, so
can I
people
just,
don't have to
like,
die.
Who
Yeah.
decided on that
No,
rule
but
in
if
the
we brought
Pokemon
back
video
real
games,
duels, it
though?
would be a dude. That
Like,
is
why-
one way to get
like, they
a
just
whole
run
shit
up to
ton
you?
of people allowing you to fucking GPS track them.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pokemon
they were
Go.
busting it. That's what I think.
But like,
Sounds
really,
cool.
like, how did they decide that rule in the Pokemon video games? Like, you get spotted by these Pokemon trainers and they just run up to you and like, hey, we're gonna duel now, and you're like, I'm my Pokemon's dying and
it's like I
bleeding
was
out
just
back
checking
here.
out just checking out the building. I don't know what the hell. Like I can't come in
Yeah.
and just like ask you some questions about the place.
No, we've got to
Yeah,
duel.
right.
I know your Pokemons are dead, but I'm gonna beat the shit out of you some more. Like,
Yo.
Should've come
Japanese are
prepared,
brutal,
man.
man.
You should have
That-
come prepared.
Oh,
Should have
man.
trained harder.
Yup.
We left that up
I miss
there.
Calvin.
I don't miss it. I just don't miss any of them.
I
If
just
you
wish they would have
aim-
mentioned him
Oh,
more in the
I
history
can't say
books.
that.
Literally, my
I
history
can't
teacher
say
was
that.
like,
I'm
then
allowed
there
to
was
say that.
Calvin Coolidge, but he didn't do anything, so we're just gonna move on. Like, that's what
Right.
you need to be celebrating. That's what they're supposed to be doing.
Yup.
So
Are-
why? I assume you don't vote, right?
Right.
Okay. Why? Now I
Okay.
know I can guess why. I'm asking this
Mhm.
because like people are always asking me and others why I don't want to vote. So let's get it out here. Let's see why you don't vote.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say it. This is gonna get a lot of argument from people, and I might get argument from you. I don't care. 2 reasons. First one's easy. I will not put myself on the list to get drafted. because I am not fighting your wars.
And if
Screw
you sign up to vote, you are on that list.
Yeah, I'm not dying for you.
They
Okay,
actually mandated that in my high
2.
school. We had to sign up for the draft.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's creepy.
I had no idea what the fuck I was doing at the time, and I was like,
Right.
yeah, sure, I guess I have to do this. Yeah, they don't tell you shit.
I took the ASVAB in high school, so I might get drafted anyway. But
that's another hill to die on.
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
I'd rather die here than Vietnam.
Exactly. I'll die in my own house. I don't care.
West Virginia.
The second reason is the big one. Okay. So if let's say that we're all having a party and we pitch some money in and we vote on what flavor of pizza to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the proper terminology?
Do we
call it a flavor of pizza?
Yeah.
That's how I'm talking right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm going with that.
I mean, that's what I call it.
What kind of pizza? Whatever.
Okay.
Well,
okay,
I mean,
what kind of pizza?
Look, I just want you to all know that he can afford those beautiful bookshelves because he flipped to the feds.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
So, okay, in a real situation, I would be able to say, okay, you know what? I don't want that kind of pizza. I'm going to take my money and I'm going to go get my own dinner. That's what I'm trying to do with voting, right? I'm not going to, the way I see it, if I vote, well, first off, I'm showing everyone else that I don't act on my words. And second off, I'm consenting to whatever the outcome is, because that's what voting is, right? If I was voting for a pizza, I could say, you know what, guys, you guys want pineapple pizza. I'm just going to take my money and go get Chinese food. And in a friendly situation at a party, people would generally be okay with that. But when you involve the government, now it's, oh no, you agreed to this, motherfucker. And so now it's like, okay, so it doesn't matter who I vote for, I'm still agreeing to the outcome. I'm agreeing to the system. And I don't consent. I'm an agorist. No, I'm just, and the way I see it, so this is the two things, this is what I tell people. If you're not registered, don't. If you are, write in either nobody or Mickey Mouse or, you know, Ron Paul or whatever you want. But don't, if you're not registered, don't, because you don't want to be drafted. But yeah, so the way I see it is it's just, you know, because if you are registered, you might as well just throw one out there. And, it, you know, if Mickey Mouse gets reported on the news, like, hey, look at this, Mickey Mouse had almost as many votes as Biden, then that's kind of significant to the idea that we're showing people that no one agrees to this bullshit. But if you don't have to because you're not registered, fucking don't. Just you don't want to die in their wars, and you don't want to be seen as contradicting your own philosophy. So that's where I am.
What would amaze me
I don't
is
have
if we
anything
get
to
like
argue with about that. Actually, that's kind of like why I had, like, originally the other thing that caused me to have the moral quandary was, like, I don't believe in the law of majority. I mean, like, just like you were saying, like, someone's always,
like you said, I'm gonna do whatever I want anyway.
Yeah, like, if you guys can vote and you guys can get your laws and everything like that, but I don't consent to this governance, and I don't suggest that any
classical
of you
example that a lot of libertarians will use is gang rape is democracy.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Gang
and so okay, so if I walk into that room knowing that that's what's going to happen, and I take my clothes off and sit down on the couch, and then I go, oh no, I don't consent because I voted for this thing over here, and it's like, well, no, you kind of walked yourself into that situation, and here you are, so I can't do anything for you now. Like, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
But it's going to happen anyways, even if you don't vote. But that's why I'm saying, like, do everything you can to take care of yourself and get out of the situation, right?
I get
like,
fucking tickled at these people who get all bent out of shape after the elections, and they're like, not my president and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but it is.
It's like, well, but it is. Exactly, it is, because you voted.
You participated. You agreed to the terms. Just because you voted on a particular person, you didn't agree that...
You agreed, right?
Exactly.
You agree to the terms of that
That
contract.
social
How's that
contract that
Somebody
we signed
Somebody
whenever we
didn't
came out of the
read the
womb.
TOS again.
Yeah, the
Yep.
terms of service of life are trash, super
Yep.
invasive.
Oh
But
man, and then you can
it,
go
it
the
would
other way
actually,
against libertarians, right? Because I can say that about government, but then I'll go, oh, it's totally fine if Walmart wants to make all their employees get a vaccine to come to work.
yeah, private property.
It's like,
It's good
no,
stuff.
I don't accept tyranny from anybody. I don't care
From
if it's the
anybody,
government or a
yeah, or a
corporation
company.
or
It's
your
the
dad.
it's the
Yeah.
actual definition of anarchy. I don't know. Did
Yep.
we actually do the video about this? Did we do the whole video about this? But
Which
the
one?
Anarchy 101.
Yeah, we did do a video. We sat down and talked about the definition of anarchy versus chaos.
But did we
and shit
actually make
like
the
that.
video?
Yeah, I think we did.
Is that up?
It was a morning show, wasn't it?
No, dude, we did a whole fucking up. Okay. Anyway,
I don't know if
the
we made
actual
that video or not.
definition.
Shit, I'm gonna have to
I know
look.
we recorded it.
I'm
I don't
gonna
know
have
if
to
you're.
look.
The definition of anarchy is
We're having a
without chief.
senile moment.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
that's the purest
chief.
definition.
Yep.
Like that's all I need to know. Like it doesn't matter who the
Yep.
fuck the chief is or what the chief is about. Fuck them.
This is the part where I said I sound like a hippie because I actually agree more with the mutualists now when they say, well, your landlord has the ability to kick you out of your house. Your employer has the ability to fire you. And I go, you know what? You're right. I should become independent.
Yes.
Whoa.
I should build my own house.
You're an
and start my own
extremist
business.
radical.
You're right. I should be an entrepreneur.
That just got you on a list. Oh my god.
The only difference is that as an agorist, I'm actually willing to become an entrepreneur and not sit and bitch about how everything in the world is causing me to act in ways that I don't want to, right? Because that's what mutualists do. They'll go,
Yeah.
The logic of mutualism is like, well, life itself makes me have to go like procure food, therefore I'm being tyrannized. And I'm like, well, okay, but then the way out of that is suicide and you're not doing it, so you're inconsistent, right?
Right.
But to me, it's like, no, you're right. I should become an entrepreneur and I don't have a problem with that. But you're bitching about becoming an entrepreneur or having to need to do that. And I'm like, no, that's what I'm trying to do right now. Like, I don't know why you're resistant to doing it.
I actually walked myself through that line of thinking because I used to be a mutualist at one point. And like I walked myself through that same line of thinking and right out of mutualism. And like that was when I veered towards libertarianism and Capistan, and then I didn't quite go in. I was just like, oh no, maybe not.
Yeah.
We're just
so the way I look at it
saw
is
your
that
corporate
it's all
overlords.
self-responsibility, right?
Yeah. That's
and it's like, I don't care about your corporate, like even your corporate overlords. Like, no, be responsible for yourself. Like, stop.
Cyberpunk is cool and all, but
don't be
chill,
dependent
bro.
on Google or your welfare checks, right?
Exactly. Okay, so what do you think about the NAP? Do you use it? Do you like it? Do you think it's overdone?
I'm trying to think how to. Okay, so the NAP is that force that is aggressive is immoral. Okay.
Non-aggression principle, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I just wanted to hit on real quick
hurt people
that
and don't take people's shit, basically.
Right.
I just wanted to hit on real quick the fact that like if we get 0.5% of people and they actually show it on the poll numbers on the news that voted for Ready Boogie, you know how fucking scared the state will be?
What is that? Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
0.5%, they would be shitting themselves in their office.
Do it. Do it.
All right,
like,
if
sorry, we can't
vote Ready Boogie.
Yeah, like they I was like,
If
sorry, sir, we can't watch The Extremists today. I shit my pants. I can't fucking go to the NSA office today.
Jeez. Poor Craig.
Oh man.
Fuck Craig.
Craig, go home and see your wife. That's what we named our
federal agent.
Yeah, that's what we named our federal agent. His name
You see
Craig.
these fucking bookshelves, Craig? They're not good enough.
Amazing.
This isn't spruce. This isn't the redwood you promised me.
Oh my
You see what I have to deal with, y'all? You see what I have to fucking deal with? So what do you think about it?
Well, okay, I don't want to go too deep because I know we've been here for an hour and a half already. So I become a Stirner fan, which basically means that I don't really adhere to, I don't value moral prescriptions at all. So you can say, okay, well, no force is justified unless it's defensive, and that's fine, I guess. But like I was saying with some of the logic of mutualism, it's like, well, I I tend to look at things more as a power dynamic now, which also makes me more left than I used to be. So whether that's violence or simply like how do we put it? So the way Stirner said it would be like an infant even has power over its mother. So like when it cries, it gets food, right? So that's exerting a power relationship. Although obviously the mother has power over the infant because the infant can't do shit without it, right? What the fuck, Craig? But as far as the okay, so I'm not big on moral prescriptions per se, but like I think the NAP is a good place to start for people if you're into natural law. But I do think that like natural law as a concept is actually I don't know, it at the very least incomplete, if that makes sense. I don't know how to get into this without spending another like hour going on about
No, I know exactly where you're getting at, but you're right. This is quite the rabbit hole to get into at a later time. I have actually really enjoyed this talk. We should invite you back again for more talks.
Yeah, I'd be perfectly willing to come
really
back on.
Enjoyed this.
It's been fun.
I would love to have you on to do like our own like Mad LiberTEA Party brewing attempt. Like Mike and I can both get our mead, and you can walk us through it, and we'll try not to explode things.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't happen well, if you're talking about stuff coming out the top, usually your issue is that you filled the jug too far.
Oh, yeah, that would
so
be.
I'm gonna say, like with one of these, okay, gallon.
Yeah.
You want it about yay high. If you filled it all the way up to here, all that foam has nowhere to go, and it's either going to push the stopper out, or in my case, because what I do is I dry it off really good, like inside here, and dry the stopper off, put it in, smash it down really hard. It comes all the way up out the airlock and like foams out.
Yeah.
And so usually I put it like over a towel and just in case, but
yeah,
I don't have that issue unless I'm being real, froggy about it and I'm filling it to like here. So, but I have had that happen a couple of times. You end up changing your equipment out and being like, oh crap, I got to clean all this up, But luckily I haven't had any of these explode yet. Thank God. Because that can happen if you don't stabilize properly and the yeast are still going. So then you put like a little bit of sugar in to sweeten it up because it's dry, right? And then you put it in one of these bottles, and if it's not a champagne bottle, this isn't rated for pressure, and that will ferment and create more gas. And I've heard of people actually having to pick glass out of their ceiling because it'll blow up.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So that's
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah,
but I have heard about that before.
I don't fuck with carbonation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, carbonation is a bitch.
I have, so I've done lower ABV stuff and put it in beer bottles and done it that way. So I've got a whole batch that's coming to Childeberg next year that is carbonated. And it's my first carbonated batch. But like, if I do one of these, this is like wine, not beer.
So when is the Childeberg stuff?
That is Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. I work at a pool store, so that's never happening.
Ah, shit. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually about to leave there.
Childeberg.com, like I said earlier, and
yeah, I mean, you're not gonna
get on that email
list.
List.
You'll still be working there next Memorial Day?
Man, I don't know if I'm gonna be working there fucking next week. My fucking power was out literally since this fucking morning, and they made me stay till 3 o'clock in the fucking afternoon with freezing rain outside at a fucking pool store. Like people are gonna be coming in. Like it doesn't. What fucking sucks is that labor, me being clocked in, counts against me, not against the corporate office. So they're literally just dicking me over for bonuses and expenses and shit like that. All the fucking electricity running and shit goes against me, not the goddamn corporate office. So I'm just having to fucking sit there in the dark reading my fucking chicken books. They're fucking paying me to sit in the dark and read chicken books. Is this what you want?
No.
Fucking corporations.
It doesn't make any sense.
None of it makes
yeah,
any
that's
sense.
ridiculous. Well,
I
I
hate
tell
the
you
white
what,
market.
unions are just as bad too. Yeah, they made me
The
sign
white
onto a
market,
union of
That
mine,
motherfucker.
is
and
fucking soul
it's
sucking.
it's stupid.
I'm
It is.
so glad. Okay, like,
There's so
see,
much
I
stupid
didn't ever
crap.
really have the chance to get fully into the white market because, like, I had a real weird beginning, and like, I got half raised by like homeless trained people and bikers and drug dealers and shit.
Okay,
So
all right.
like, I'm like,
Okay.
and
That
shit.
was
So
Fast
like,
reaction.
That's-
I was
like,
like,
This
okay.
is, dude.
I'm like,
I want to hear the story now.
so like when I tried to get into the white market, I couldn't do it. Like it would put me into deep, like at first it would just be like I would get tired, but then it would put me into these
Oh,
like
that
deep fucking
structure has got to be
depressions.
like,
And the structure itself
yeah.
was so hard for me. I could only actually get jobs in the white market with people who were incredibly sympathetic to me or like already knew me and knew
Mhm.
how I was and shit. Um, it was like a nightmare, and I used to feel like it was a bad thing before like it used to be like it bothered me and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Now I fucking treasure it because like I watched the people around me that were my friends. Like I came up on the ass end of punk rock, so we were all like, nah, fuck this shit and fuck the man and all that stuff, right? Well, all these people who were damning the man with me, they bought into it, and it's like
Oh,
the more
yeah.
you buy in, the more they slap chains on you and
Yes,
shit. And
somebody
so
sold them the
now,
right flavor of snake oil, right?
yeah, and so like I notice weird little things. Like when one of my dear friends needs help or whatever, they can call me and be like, "Hey, could you come up to this side of the US for like a year and help me with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I just make some arrangements and then do it. Because like my work goes wherever I go and it's whatever hours I want it to be and stuff like that. So I can just pick everything up and just go and help my friends and do what I need to do to make sure that the people I care about are good. Or I mean, like if I needed to, I could just up and take a trip for my own like self-health. And my other friends are like, I really wish that I could help, but I can't do anything. And like the best they can do is they're like, here, take a bunch of money with you. And I'm like, cool,
The white
I'll
market
use the
traps
money.
you.
But like they're trapped and they can't do the things that are important
Mhm.
to them. They can't do the things that matter to them
Well,
because they feel obligated. There's no one there with a gun to their
well,
head
that
for
too,
real,
but
but there
what
is.
this is what they do too is they get you hooked on credit cards and shit, and you get debts, and then it's like, well, now I have to work a consistent job, or somebody's going to show up at my house wondering where the money is,
Well, one of the
and
most difficult
that's one
things
of the
is
things
getting
I'm
like a
trying to get out of.
house. Like, how do you get
Yeah.
land and how do you get a house by being an agorist and an anarchist? That's exactly where I'm at the moment. I'm
And
perfectly okay with
that's
leaving my job at any given
yeah.
moment. But the whole problem is like, okay, well, I need a house and land to live on, and I can make my own food and do all the fucking shit necessary. I don't give a shit if I have to fucking build
But
a goddamn
how
log
do you pay
cabin.
property taxes if you're not getting the
Exactly.
USD? Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
see your point. But this is why. So I highly recommend you listen to that roundtable we did about the Childerberg town, because the idea is you don't want to just separate yourself and live in the woods, right? So
Right.
you still gonna like what the guy his name's Jacob Lindsay, and he's the co-host of Tasting Anarchy, and he's also running the Californian in Exile podcast. He's a software developer. He can work from home, he can move wherever he wants, and like, so he's still gonna have the money coming in, and like we're still gonna have some form of white market way of doing things. Like I'm personally like, okay, so one of the ideas for Childerberg is like this club per se is going to be a corporation that pays the property taxes for whatever land it buys. And so like the core people who start this thing are going to be landowning members underneath this umbrella called Childerberg. And then what you do is the corporation pays the property taxes from its own revenue. Like it's gonna like if you like, let's say you've got woods nearby and you build like hunting cabins and things and rent those out. So it gets its own revenue. It's not like we're paying taxes to it. We probably would
Yeah.
have like a membership fee in order to keep all this shit going, that kind of thing. But it's not taxes. Like you can leave. And so what I'm going to do, like I'm going to have my idea is like I'm going to go build a cellar and I'm going to build my whatever house I'm going to end up building, and to be able to sell like on store shelves, we're going to have like, you know, what they call a brew pub license that actually counts for the club, right? So I'm brewing as a part of the club. This bar is part of the club. The licensing is through the club. It's not like
It's almost
like
kind of like a
obviously you
guild
still
or
have to
something.
do, yeah, and like you still have to participate in the things to get the state off your back. But the way I look at it is this is blood money, right? They're going to come take your money either way, and I'm just paying to get them off my back. It's the
It kind of
mafia,
sucks
and
that we
just
have
treat
to
them like the
fucking
mafia,
think about it
right?
like that. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
I
it
always,
does.
that's
But
what I just flat out call them. I'm like, they're the largest, most successful cartel in
yeah,
possibly the world at this point.
yeah. So that's the way I look at it. You just treat them like the mafia. When they come around, you pay them off, you get them out of your hair, and then like the guy who, you know, built a garage and the inspector never came back, lived in the garage, right? So and the same thing goes, like I could build a shed, get the permit, build the shed, and then when the inspector leaves and you know he's not coming back, put an AC unit in the window of that thing and rent it out as an Airbnb. Boom. Illegal as fuck. Nobody cares. Right?
Yeah.
So agorism, but don't get yourself arrested. You know, get your permits, pay your fines, whatever you got to do, but do it in a way that becomes profitable to you and the way you want to do it, regardless of what they think.
Yeah. Set up a
Yeah.
way to go off road if you
Yeah.
need to, too, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
can't tell you what you can do in your backyard, your own backyard. That's the way I look at it. So,
although
uh,
they'll try.
right. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like once you get them off your back, a lot of time, there's a lot of ways to deal with this. That
Yeah.
like, yeah, it sucks that we got to pay taxes, and that's, you know, that's the thing about agorism that I'm becoming a little less I'm a little more disillusioned with, is the idea that we're going to starve them of the tax money. Like
Right.
I'm focused on my prosperity and the prosperity of my friends and my community, right? And that's why I'm trying to build a community of these like-minded people who are going to show ways of doing things that make us more resilient to these hardships that come about because of centralization. That's what I'm focused on. Because if we're just, you know, doing odd jobs and trying to get cash and not pay taxes, like eventually
It's
that
not going to go
economy is going to
anywhere.
dry up because they're going to fuck it up like they always do. You know, it's going to crash and you're going to be fucked. And that's, I want to build a community that doesn't rely on that. And I want to show people that they can interact with us and do things with us and maybe join the club if they want to, maybe not, who knows, maybe start their own club. But that's the mentality that I want to have going forward.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
it's all really good stuff.
Yeah.
We are at an hour and 40 minutes, hour 42 minutes, almost an hour
Yep.
43. It's been a really good conversation. I personally, I would love to have you back on at some point, especially
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know, to do you know, the home brewing stuff, and maybe that can be like
Yep.
a little cross pollination of your online tutorials and stuff like that. And then we would love to maybe do like a video about you know, the whole Texas trip and everything, and really try to get the word out there to the other various anarchist groups that we're involved in and stuff like that, and try to get more people out there.
Check it out.
Yeah, if we do that, I mean, we should definitely get Jacob on because he can tell you even more about it and hype
That would
people
be
up that
cool.
way too. Yeah.
Do you
Yep.
have Jacob's like communication information that you can send
I
to us?
do. If you hit up Tasting Anarchy on Twitter or at Schilderberg, it's going to be those two
Schilderberg.
accounts, and you can
Okay.
just DM them, say, "Hey, we got referenced by Agora Brewing. Did a whole podcast with him, you know."
Sure.
And yeah, just hit him up there, and he'll get back to you.
Sounds like a
Heck
plan.
yeah.
All right.
So that
I
being
think that'd be
said,
great.
we really loved having you on. We learned a lot, and it was really nice to
Hell
get
yeah.
somebody that's kind of like on the forefront of like agorism and like actively having like a you know, doing the crafts and stuff like that, that a lot of agorists just talk about and tweet about and stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys liked this content, please like and subscribe to the channel. Definitely check
And
out Agora
share
Brewing.
it.
and definitely share their content as well. That really helps both of us out.
Oh, tell them what your Twitter is and stuff too.
Yeah, so it's at Agora Brewing. I'm Agora_Brewing on Instagram, and the blog is agorabrewing.home.blog.
Okay, and we'll of course have all those hard links below in the description. But again, thank you guys very much for watching. Like and share. Send us around on your social medias. If you don't have the social medias and you would like to help us, we also have various financial means. We have the coin trees where you can send us cryptocurrencies, so you can get all the drug monies and hitman monies. And we also have the various merchandise websites and stuff like that linked on there. It's a very nice, clean setup. Every single dollar we get goes directly back to the show, because right now Mike and I are doing this directly out of pocket.
And the various prongs of the Mad LiberTEA project and all that junk.
And yeah, so all that money really helps us out. It's like Mike and I were freaking out the other day because someone donated us $15, and we were like, we're rich. We're rich people.
Oh my god. They love us. Yes. We're famous now. Give me my blue check so I can go crazy.
We're gonna have the bread and games now.
There you go.
But if you can't, financially support us in any way, one thing you can definitely do is actually check out the Brave link. No, Mike. Check out the Brave link.
He doesn't want to do the socials.
The Brave is just a different web browser, and personally, I really liked it as a normie going into it. It was kind of a struggle at first with Mike trying to get me to use this thing, but now I'm absolutely in love with it because one, it blocks commercials on everything, so you can get premium YouTube and you can get premium Hulu. Without having to pay for any of that stuff. It blocks all the commercials. But if you join that Brave using our browser link, it actually gives us money. If you stay for like a month, I believe it is, we actually get additional money, which is, it's free money. You're helping us out. And yeah, the Brave is really, really cool. Definitely recommend checking it out if you are in the libertarian community or anarchist community. It helps just keep your stuff more secure. If you don't want to do that because, I don't know, you hate this color of my robe and you wish I was wearing blue instead, then check us out on Discord and Elements and our various other social medias. Discord is basically just a leaping off point to get you involved in Elements. Because Elements and Riot is going to be the more secure network. That's where it's just all encrypted. It's a little bit extra work getting on there.
Also, it's not going anywhere. It's self-hosted. It's a self-hosted node. It's not going to be taken down by some fucking crazy person with a TOS hard on.
It's more secure, like I said. Anyway, thank you guys again very much for watching. We will see you tomorrow morning for our morning coffee break, and we will also see you tomorrow evening, 7:30 p.m. Central Time, to talk to Ivan the Troll, who, if you don't know, is very big in the 3D printing community. So we're very excited to have him on.
We're going to talk about making it go burr. 3D printer.
Yeah, not the wood chipper this time.
Yeah, not the wood chipper, the 3D printer.
Well, why not though?
I mean, make a wood chipper with your 3D printer, and it can all go burr.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But yeah, until next time, we will see you guys. Again, thank you very much for being on the show. We look forward to having you on again in the future.
This was awesome.
All right.
You guys, okay, until we see you guys tomorrow, be safe.